Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and sorry guys, I screwed up. Yeah, so in the last video, we left off with a cliffhanger chapter ending that included Kenpachi saying to Gremmy, or at least I thought it was Gremmy, that you've made this guy very happy. And I assumed that he was just referring to himself, and it kind of looked like in that one panel he was kind of reaching for his eye patch there, so I assumed he was going to take out his eye patch. Apparently what it really meant, and what actually makes more sense, is the fact he was holding up his sword and he was referring to it as that guy, as in the sword, because he's done that before. When he was fighting against Noitora, he referred to his sword as that guy, or him. You know, it wasn't really necessarily meaning that he had a better connection to his sword. It's just that he started realizing that, maybe if I want my sword to pay attention to me, maybe I should start referring to it as a him or a her slash just an it or just a thing. So maybe that's where that connection lied there. But sorry guys, I screwed up, whatever. I don't think it's a big deal anyway, unless we learn some massive, huge bombshell revelation about Kenpachi Zanpakuto in this chapter. But considering this fight's been going on for so long, I really highly doubt any such thing will occur. Alright, why is the lights getting dimmer in here? And holy shit, what's up with the sky? Huh. What does it mean? Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, here to review Bleach chapter number 576, entitled The Killer's High 2. And we very appropriately open up on a title page that gives the impression that Gremmy is indeed a killer who is high. So yeah, interesting thing though is that Kubo did the cover page for Gremmy kind of like in a different style than his own. He did kind of like a watercolor sort of blurred type of deal with the palette, making it seem like more, of course, like imagination, like different colors, you know, like a child like making a finger painting drawing, of course, so maybe that's what he was going for there. The chapter begins with Gremmy having inner monologue to himself, thinking about the statement that Kenpachi made at the end of the last chapter, talking about how that's a mighty fine expression, or that's a mighty good expression on Gremmy's face. Since, of course, I guess from Kenpachi perspective, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's ready to battle, this guy's bloodthirsty, that's what I want, that's what I'm talking about. All balls out battle right now, ladies and gentlemen. Gremmy himself is a little bit confused because he, of course, wasn't, I guess, aware of the expression he was making once. In a sense, Gremmy just doesn't really pay attention to the current reality. He kind of pays attention to his own reality as he makes it up as he goes along. So he doesn't really pay much attention what's going on in the battlefield, just how to counteract it and add his own shit to it. So he's just like, fine expression. I didn't really know the expression I was making just now, but for some reason, I feel so delighted. I feel so amazing. I just want to fight, fight, fight. So I don't know what this is, if it's like his real personality shining through now, like this is what Gremmy's always been like, and he hasn't had this feeling in so long because he hasn't had an opponent like Kenpachi Zaraki in so long, or if it's just the fact that Kenpachi's attitude is just kind of affecting him in some way. That might be it too. Maybe he like kind of has to reflect another person's imagination onto himself or something. Like maybe he's around somebody that's really bloodthirsty. He'll start to imagine himself as more bloodthirsty. I don't really know exactly how to refer to it like that, but at any rate, he gets the crazy expression on his face and he charges at Kenpachi once again. We get the title page, and then Kenpachi launches another attack, which is then blocked by Gremmy summoning a giant jello mold type deal with spikes protruding from it. But considering the fact this is also made of steel or something very similar to steel, Kenpachi is able to cut through it no problem. Here, tricks won't save you. Didn't I tell you I can rip right through steel? Hey, God Kubo, can you help me out now? Wait, what? Sure thing, Gremmy. So yeah, like I said, it's freaking like Gremmy and Kubo are in cahoots here. Like he's drawing Gremmy and he's kind of come on his own life of his own, and you know, Gremmy's just dictating to Kubo like, hey man, can you help me out a little bit here? This guy's gonna kill me. And Kubo's just like, yeah, sure, I'll just take my giant writer's hand and just stomp right on him. Oh, paper cut. Damn. And yes, he lands a hit on the little prick, but this one's a little bit differently, because apparently, I think it's because Gremmy is maybe in this state of kind of ecstasy and elation fighting against Kenpachi right now, that he's not the same kind of cool customer he was earlier. Whenever Kenpachi struck him, he's just like, oh, you hit me. Okay, I'll just fix that. Now he's maybe a little bit more in tune to the fight, and he's not paying attention to his own body as much. Like I said, his kind of sense of reality kind of slips in between the unconscious and conscious. So this time when he gets struck, he's not aware of it right away, and Gremmy states, well, since I'm not aware of the damage, obviously my healing time has been lagged, because unless I'm aware that I'm cut, I can't do anything about it. And because I have to take the lag time to heal, then obviously that lag time is going to be taken up by Kenpachi Zaraki trying to cut me up more. And hey, what do you know? Kenpachi Zaraki shreds him into about 1,000 pieces. Really though, this chapter's not that long, but this scene puts a smile on my face. Kenpachi Zaraki getting up close and personal, literally just slashing the hell out of Gremmy, and you see these awesome scenes where his raincoat's becoming like blood-stained, and he's bleeding all over the place, and he's like ready to collapse, and he's just thinking to himself, like, wait a second, he's cutting me up like this. Does he actually think he can kill me? Wait a second, can I die? Is that a thing? Can I actually, like, die? And he almost freaks out here, almost has like a complete mental breakdown here, to the point where he's just like having this deadpan stare like, Mommy, I don't want to go to school today, I just want to sit around and make cookies with you, please, I don't want to be here anymore. Oh, don't worry about it. If I had a dime for every time I heard that from an opponent, I'd be a really, really rich man. Anyway, just give me a second to check on your wuss count so I don't get too disinterested. Wuss count at 62%. Alright, I guess I got a couple more blade slashes in you. Bring it on, kid! Kenpachi, I guess, realizes that Gremmy just stopped fighting back, or he just became completely encumbered to the point where he wasn't doing anything. He was just letting Kenpachi hack him up. He stops and he's just like, wait a second, don't tell me just now you imagined yourself losing. And that kind of like gives the Gremmy, I guess, the realization of what was really going on here. If Gremmy imagines himself losing, he's gonna lose, or he's not gonna move. And if he imagines himself dying, he's gonna freaking die. So we finally get a really big freaking chink in this guy's armor. So yeah, it just kind of circles back to the typical logic in the Bleach universe. The greater the power, the bigger the danger it is for the user. In this case, Gremmy basically has to be completely removed from reality. He has to kind of make up his own reality and just focus on what he's doing, because if he slips up at all and he starts thinking about the negative thoughts, he's gonna go down, and he's gonna go down fast. Luckily, with the, speech from Kenpachi, he kind of regains himself and he heals all of his wounds, haxed, and so yeah, then he continues the fight. So basically, that's the deal. As long as he keeps a positive outlook on life and he doesn't see himself losing or dying, the kid's virtually invincible. But that's still a very big glaring weakness right there. I mean, really, has there been any moment in your life, really, where you looked at yourself and you didn't have any negative thoughts whatsoever? That'd be a really dangerous thing if you had the ability to conjure anything, but the second you get a depressing, or the second your girlfriend leaves you, you could very well end up in a casket by the end of the night. So yeah, that's a thing right there. Anyway, though, he thanks Kenpachi for giving himself the second wind, and then he proceeds to summon an exact clone of himself. Whatever, you already kind of ripped off Naruto already with the different imagination jutsus you had, so why not break out Kagebushin? Actually, not. Gremmy states that it's actually not a clone. Actually, Gremmy, I don't know if you know this, but if you created another being exactly like yourself, down to the very last brain cell, which I'm assuming this is, then yes, Gremmy, that is in fact a clone. Can't really think of any other words I can really use to describe that. I mean, yeah, maybe if you did something like summon a different version of yourself that's like a Frankenstein Gremmy, maybe I would buy it when you say, that's not my clone, that's just my construct of my imagination. But if it's exactly like you in every regard, then it's your clone. Well, I mean, I guess if you want to get really technical, in some animals there's a thing called parthenogenesis, which basically means that they can reproduce an exact copy or clone of themselves as their offspring. Although in those situations it's a little bit more... what the hell? I thought we made an agreement that you would not butt in during Gremmy's scenes. I mean, remember last month we had this discussion? You were doing your shit with the lasers? Yeah, I do a lot of stuff with lasers. You have to be more specific on that one. You know, we were in the kitchen, and that's why I'm letting you know, just so you don't come in and interrupt. Could you please turn that fucking thing off? What? Okay, as I was saying, I'm just giving you a heads up that there's a character in Bleach right now that has the ability to basically summon anything he wants from just his thoughts, so a lot of it's not going to make any fucking sense, and I don't want you barging in to point out that it doesn't make any freaking sense. That's the point. I mean, we're going full Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends on this shit right now. Oh, okay, I guess I could do that. You don't want me to show up just to, explain to them why it's fantastical? Like, maybe it has something to do with the chemical electrical process in the brain? No, seriously, dude, it's fine. It's cool. He's not even really doing anything that imaginative with it anyway. He's just raising the ground and summoning some random assault weapons. Nothing really that intricate there. But, yeah, just giving you a heads up on that. Don't bug me. Okay, fine. Just make sure you don't bug me. I'm doing really important shit over here with lasers. That's how you know it's important, because there's lasers. Oh yeah, I remember that experiment. I think that gas main explosion killed like 30 people in that apartment complex. Yeah, it's such a tragedy. So, you good? Okay, fine, whatever. I guess I'll just leave you to your non-scientific manga nonsense. Right then. Anyway, Gremmy goes on to explain that his powers don't just encompass the ability to create inanimate objects, they also include creating life forms. This goes back to the Gwenhale thing, Stern Ritter V, the Vanishing Point that we thought was the original Stern Ritter V fighting against Isane and Yachiru. He created him, and I guess he just sent him in as his spy, and he was able to wipe him off of the face of the earth. My question is, though, if the fact remains that you could summon life forms aside from just inanimate objects, which, in my opinion, greatly increases your freaking battle power. I mean, if you wanted to, couldn't you just summon like an entire army behind you? I mean, if you could just create things out of your head, let's just say you could create any of the Stern Raiders, like summon all the Stern Raiders or exact copies of the Stern Raiders behind you. If you can't do that, summon just people with spears and swords and shields, like an entire Roman legion or something behind you. That would be kind of useful. I mean, really, imagination power, kid. If I had that power, I'd be doing crazy shit. I'd be like walking down the road being like, hey, you get a puppy. Hey, you get a hamster. Hey, you get a unicorn. Yeah, hi, my name's Max. Okay, see you, Max. Anyway, moving on to the climax of the chapter, Gremmy now states that since there's two of them, they now have double the imagination power. You could also question why he doesn't just summon 3, 4, or 5 of them, but I actually have an understanding why he doesn't do that, because if he summons more than 2, there's also the greater possibility that one of them could imagine them dying, and I think if one of them imagines them dying, they would all die, so maybe that's why he's not creating like an entire army of himself there. I guess they just can't risk their imaginations running too wild. I guess that would be a good way to explain that. And he summons a giant-ass meteor coming down straight for the freaking Vandente.
The fuck is that?
It's a meteorite. All of the Seirete will disappear, and I will be the only one left standing. Oh, okay. Number 1, it's not so much the Seirete at this point as it is the Vandente. As in, this is kind of Yuha's own personal crib. I think he would be none too happy if you summoned a 10-ton flaming rock of death to come down and crush his personal porn collection. Alright? Number 2, you'd be the only one left standing, kind of implying everybody else dies, including the other Stern Ritters. I mean, maybe Yuha would survive it, probably, but the other Stern Ritters, your allies, I mean, I'm not giving you any credit like you care about them, but dude, little bit of overkill. And number 3, that's a freaking meteorite! This is awesome! Or it could just mean that Medora's Meteor Spice attack had that big of an attack radius. I mean, really, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those things broke through the freaking Einstein-Rosa bridge and crashed into the Bleach universe. That was a pretty intense attack. Anyway, regardless, Kenpachi just looks up at the massive death ball and states, huh, meteorite, huh? I ain't never sliced something like that up before. This makes me so hard right now, Nozarashi. Oh, and the name is revealed, ladies and gentlemen. Happy day! We did it! We freaking did it! These happy days are yours and mine. Happy days, Kenpachi Zanpakuto! What does it mean? Well, actually, if you're reading the Manga Panda translation, you're shit out of luck because it doesn't help you with that. The Manga Stream version, which apparently everybody hates, regardless of my last review, whatever, it actually turns out it says it's the Storm Slicer. I did actually a little bit of digging, and I recommend you do too, because you'd be interested in the stuff you find out. There's a wikia out there called the Immortal Geisha. Here's the screenshot of it, and you'll see that the Nozarashi is actually kind of like a design they put on different types of clothing in Japanese culture, and it basically just means like weather-worn skeleton. So it's most notably a skeleton that's like left out in the field to basically get sun bleached and, you know, exposed to the elements. So in both translations, they do have some reference to storm, some reference to weather. So I'm assuming that's what its ability is going to be. Now, is it going to be like a wind scar, like a badass wind blade, and he like slices the freaking meteor in half? Is he going to like summon lightning in en masse to cut it down from like 18 different directions? I don't know. I mean, we've never really had like an all, you know, like a wild card weather type Zanpakuto. It's always been a specific element, you know, like just water or just lightning or just fire. It's never been something that can just manipulate kind of like all types of weather patterns. So maybe we might have something like that. If it's used the right way, it would fit Kenpachi very well. But really, since we just know the name at this point, all I can really speculate on is its ability. It doesn't look like it's changing shape that much. I mean, it looks a little bit more grittier, but I mean, it's not going to change shape. That's the whole point why we didn't have a huge-ass reveal, because his Shikai's already known. It's just that it's not going to be much sense if, you know, Shikai calls its name and it changes again, because the Shikai's the Shikai regardless. Now, the Bankai, that's a different story, but I don't think we're ever going to get to that point with Kenpachi, so I'm just going to stop my discussion on that right there. Going on more to Gremmy, because there's something about him that I kind of figured out, and I don't know if this is where Kubo's going to go with it, but it makes a lot of sense to me personally. what exactly Gremmy is, I think he is the embodiment of the madness, or like the crazy expressions on his face. You know, I think that's all relating to Yu-Ha Bach. Because let's think here for a second. Yu-Ha Bach's power, up to this point that we're aware of, is separating his ability out to the 26 different Stern Raiders. He separates their powers out, which, of course, all brings up the same problem that when Gremmy does die by the hands of Kenpachi Zaraki in a bloody stew, which is going to happen, by the way, eventually, the power of the Visionary is just going to go right back to Yu-Ha. So then Yu-Ha has the ability to create whatever he wants. Why would he give that power out to begin with? I don't know. Kind of draws the madness to some people. But in some regards, I think he's also able to portion out different parts of his personality as well. Like, for example, his personality that felt fear. You know, he separated that out to Asnot, so Asnot was obsessed with fear. His ability of, well, I don't know so much, maybe like gloating or boastful or pride, maybe that was given to Maste Masculine because he was like the superstar. So maybe it's something like that, like his idea for madness, or his affinity for, you know, that just battle-hardened, crazy warrior that kind of Kenpachi embodies. Maybe he sent that out to embody Gremmy's character, especially since Askin last chapter referred to him as like, oh, I can't believe Yu-Ha let that monster out. So maybe something like that. Maybe, and Yu-Ha's personality's always been kind of a little bland. You ever notice that? Most of the time he's just sitting in the chair being like, yes, indeed, possibly, I will rule the world, maybe. He doesn't really express anything really involving rage or happiness or jealousy or envy. He just kind of sticks to the same expression. I mean, he acted like surprised a little bit when he was fighting against Ichigo and them, but that was really about it. So maybe that's my impression on what Gremmy is and what the Stern Raiders are in general. They can divide out his personality as well as his powers. But hey, next week, Kenpachi Zanpaku To, full power. We're going to find out what this thing finally does. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, everybody, we made it. So let's end out this episode in typical 1980s sitcom fashion by doing a freeze frame jumping motion. Yeah!